Amen. So what did I get through? Verse 9. Okay, so this is the Afterburn. And so if you have a comment or question about today's teaching, look, and I've slowed things down quite a bit so I could dwell on the same point over and over again, because I think sometimes we speed through a bunch of stuff and nothing gets done. And I'm hoping to bore you to tears because you've already fixed it and got it worked out and you don't need it anymore. Okay? I really am. It's kind of like when I went to, I had a job as a commodities broker. Anybody keeping track? Yeah, that's your list. And when I was a commodities broker, there was a gentleman that came into the area that was a motivational sales trainer, speaker, whatever he was, and he threw a pitch to our company for any of us who wanted to go to this training that he was offering. And I'm always open to any training. If I've got the time and the budget for it, I'll go. But the reason I'll go is because it's going to either A, give me a new and an interesting, distinct new way of seeing something that I maybe already saw, or it'll remind me of stuff I already should know that I'm not doing, that I could be doing and should be doing. I mean, I'm not looking for the magic solution. With my experience, I'm figuring there's probably almost nothing they're going to say I haven't heard already, but they may say it differently in a way that makes a difference in me actually being more effective in using it. And one of the guys turned to me and said that, I said, "Are you going to go?" He says, "Nah." He says, "I'm sure I'm just going to hear the same old stuff." I said, "I certainly hope so." He looked at me like, "What? There isn't any new stuff. If this guy's any good, he should be telling you all the same old stuff, just trying to get you to do it. Now, it'll only be new to you if you've never heard any of it, but it won't be new." I listen to guys all the time, some of these new younger guys that came out over the years. You know, I mean, I go back to the older guys, way back, Jim Rohn and Tony Robbins and, Brian Tracy, you'll go way back. But now you got all these young guys that are the new guys coming up. And you know what? They sound the same. And that's good. They package it a little differently. They have their own personalities. But that's good. Peter tells us the same thing in 2 Peter. He says, "Look, I know you should already be established and you're already established in all these things, but I believe it's my job to remind you over and over again as long as I'm alive." Even though he starts off saying that you should. So literally, my goal is to stand up here and say nothing that you don't already know. Do you understand? I would love it to be at that point when I stand up here and all of you go, "Yep, I knew that," but then you also think, "But that way he just said it this time, I think maybe I'm finally going to start doing it." Okay? I mean, listen, I've already done 500 teachings over the last 8 years or whatever it is. I mean, how much more stuff can I come up with, or he come up with? We're just going to keep repackaging everything until we find a way of packaging it that gets you to do it. I mean, that's essentially what it is. I say the same thing almost every week because he says the same thing over and over. But it's hopefully trying to just light that fire where you go, the light bulb goes on, and you go, "I get it. I'm going to actually do that now. I'm going to make that change." Hopefully that's making some sense to somebody. Okay, and we're going to begin with Brianna, my daughter.
Nice. I have a lot.
You have a lot? That's okay.
Because a lot of it reminded me of other things that you've said. The first thing was talking about the different talents that everyone had, and how when you were talking about you're depriving others when you isolate yourself. It reminded me of the parable in Matthew 25:14 of the man who hid his talent rather than using it. Is that similar to that?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
The point there being the same thing, which is whatever he gives you, he expects you to do something with it. Mm-hmm. Okay?
So when you isolate yourself, it's hiding it in a sense?
Right. If you're isolating yourself, then you can't whatever he gave you can't get used. Absolutely. Good connection.
I guess when you're talking about when a father is talking to the child and the wife should not usurp that, is there certain instances where, because I've seen in many accounts in Scripture where preserving life or helping life can usurp certain authorities that people might have. If there's an instance that the child might not be handled correctly by the father, can the wife respectfully usurp the authority in that instance?
Okay, look, these are good questions. If there's something that's actually dangerous, we have a different problem, okay? If it's just a matter of the father doing his guidance and instruction, or remember I said even if the mother's doing it, the father walks in, they should discuss that separately if they're going to not agree on how that should be handled, okay? I'm not very good at this myself at times. I just jump in and I start doing whatever I do. But I've intended, and I still intend to get to the point where I can do that. Now, of course, if something is on a level, this is important that you are careful that you don't just put everything at this level, but on a level of an emergency. Of course, some of us think everything's an emergency, okay? All right? And so, because we get calls like that all the time, where people think that their urgency is our emergency, or how do you put that, Billy? Is that right? Okay? Something's urgent to you, you think is that we need to drop everything and handle it, when really you're overreacting to something most of the time, okay? But if something is legitimately an abusive, dangerous, something like that, it's not usurping to go and to intervene and to actually get help to deal with the thing, because now we're talking about danger. But you got to be careful and make sure something's dangerous, okay? Disagreeing about disciplining styles and parenting styles. When I say disciplining styles, I'm not talking about beating up the kid. I'm talking about maybe I punish him for an hour, you want to punish him for 2 days. Disagreeing about those kind of things is not urgencies, and it's not abuse, and it's not. You got to come to an agreement on how that works. And so that's important. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, and
Okay.
Another thing, I don't know if this is really a question, more like a comment. When you're saying when you go to a medical person, you go under their authority structure, and then if the medical person needs to come to you, they'll go under your authority structure. It reminded me of in part 27, you were talking about leadership serving and submissive serving, and some people thought like, oh, I never have leadership serving, but depending on the talents that you have, you can definitely be a higher vertical structure when people, is that kind of the same thing or not?
Yeah.
Okay.
Look, let me just put this out there. When I mentioned medical people, I probably freaked out a whole bunch of people to think that I'm going to be like, you should just do whatever the doctors say. I'm not saying that. Okay, this is a medical person that I vetted, that I trust, that giving me the guidance that I was going to do. I mean, I'm not, if they want to tell me to put chips in me and do all that, I'm not just going to do whatever doctors say. So I don't want people that are going to like think wrong of what I'm talking about. I was trying to make a point, and you'll get distracted and miss the point. She understood the point. Now, the other part is about the gifts and talents. Look, a lot of you on live stream may not know this, but I'm the musical director. I've got a musical background, in spite of the fact that I can't sing, but I have an extensive musical background, and I've got an ear, okay, that like a producer's ear. So I hear what I need to hear, and I can help with that. And so that doesn't mean I know better than everybody here, but I am the director. But my daughter, who's talking to you now, she's the leader of the praise team. So on the one hand, she's submitted to me. On the other hand, she has authority and leadership responsibility for the rest of the team. Okay, she picks the songs. She decides different creative things that need to be done. Of course, other members of the team will speak up in time saying, why can we try this, or what do you think about that, or change this thing a little bit? And they all get to have their voices in a respectful way. But it's her decision up to a point, unless I feel that I need to come in some way, all right? But she has that middle spot. Okay, is that what you were talking about, darling? Okay, she nodded her head. The camera's not on you at the moment, but she nodded her head yes. So, I mean, that's something we all have to understand, is that you if you're younger, like all the teenagers on this side of the room, okay, you guys will have these opportunities when you become adults. You don't have them as much as a teenager, but you know what? As a teenager, you may be asked to watch your younger sibling. That's an opportunity to be in that middle spot where you have some authority, but you also are under authority, okay? And so those kind of things do come around. All right, thank you, Brianna. Okay, who's next? Live stream?
Okay, from Walks Off, Pat. Do those of us with little earned social skills and are extremely introverts need to change ourselves? And as a 50-plus person, how do I do that? Yes, my skills are probably very hidden.
Well, look, we're not talking about completely changing. If you're introverted, you're introverted. And so we're not going to expect you to become an extrovert. But we are going to encourage you to break out of your shell enough to spend more time around people. And you can sit around people quietly. And you may end up finding yourself in a spot where you discover that you have a gift that you can share with someone. And like I say, something as unimpressive to some, but very impressive to others, as just sitting and listening. Introverted, quiet people are good at listening often. The extrovert's doing a lot of talking. And so it's okay to recognize you're being an introvert. And that doesn't mean you all of a sudden have to be the life of the party, but at least you can attend the party and you can sit there and you can maybe find someone else who's sitting there also quiet and you might talk a little bit. And it just gives you a chance to be available, okay? Like coming to services. So you come and you sit. Now, if you're going to go sit in the corner all by yourself, that could be a little bit tougher, but like, why not sit with some people, say hi, introduce yourself, and at some point you may connect with somebody and make friendships. So it's stretching yourself is what I'm talking about, more than changing in some radical way. Did that help, do you think, for maybe the people here? Okay, you can clap for that. Look, and those who know me understand this. Every single, probably tonight also, okay? Almost every night that we have a service, and then we eat, and we all still hang out after we eat, people are going to come up to me and say, do you want to go go eat some more? Okay? I know you guys think that's weird, but if you're here, you'll understand. Because after a 4-hour service, then we eat at about 5:30, 6 o'clock, and we're still hanging out. By about 10 o'clock, we're hungry again. All right? And it's a hard question for me, because I don't want to do it. It's not that I'm introverted. I'm all red. Red means, unless it's something that needs me to fix, do, instruct, guide, or something else, I'm not real comfortable and not real interested. So when people want to go hang out, I don't want to go hang out. But I'll go because I need to stretch myself. So not all the time, but most of the time I'll try to say yes, because my wife would really like it if I go, and I try to please her. Because she wants to go, and she doesn't want to go without me, and I understand that. Even though the whole time she's there, I'm not even going to notice her, because she's going to be with the ladies and doing her thing. So I'm like, I don't even know why you needed me here. But she likes having me there, okay? And I know the other people like that I show up too, but that's the thing is, you got to understand that I'm understanding you introverts from that point of view. I don't want to be there. Not that I have a real anxiety about it or anything. I'm just not interested, okay? I'm not interested in social interaction. Not that I'm not interested in the people. I've already spent all day with the people, all right? We've already had a long day together. But I stretch myself, and I'll go. And I'll always enjoy myself when I go, okay? But I'm asking myself to step out of what's most comfortable for me, which would have been just to go home. At that point, I've been on stage, I've been talking, I've been interacting with people. We did our own egg. What else do you need? I counseled afterwards, you know. I'm kind of theoretically peopled out at that point. But you know what? But see, if you're asking me to do my job, I could do that till 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning. There's a few of you that have been with us in a parking lot outside of a diner till 4 in the morning. I don't have a problem doing that. But if you want me to socialize, it's not that I don't want to do it. It's like an introvert doing it. It's not comfortable for me. So to you introverts, I understand that to that degree. And that may not make sense, maybe it makes total sense, because I'm very extroverted in general, okay? But when it comes to socializing, I'll sit there and I'll interact or not, and I'm available. And a lot of times, really, nobody's talking to me, and I'm not really talking to them, but I'm there. Okay, I'm available if that's what comes out. Then maybe somebody asks a question, I go into counseling, teaching, guiding mode, and I'm happy again. Okay? Not that I'm upset the other time, but it gives me something to do, okay? And so hopefully, but I'm available if I'm there for that, right? I have to be available. Showing up is step one. And then whatever gifts you have can come out once you're there. Okay, Janet.
Sorry. Thank you, Rabbi. It was great teaching. So I have a couple of things here. One was, I forgot the verse, but it says, we're one body in Messiah, right? I was thinking about the body has a head, obviously, and he's our head, but you are here for representative. So you are really here for that purpose of helping us, guiding us, giving us instruction. And so I think that our body will be in a much balanced, healthier, happier state if we would just follow, right, what you say. And I was thinking about that. How can a body move in different directions if they're not aligned with what the head is doing to help us? That's what I got from it.
Absolutely good. All right. Let me say this. In probably most cases, if you would just submit and follow the authority, your husband, your pastor, your rabbi, whatever, even if things go badly, it will go better than if you fight it. I'm just saying, in most cases, if you would just trust and let them lead and let them make mistakes and it can go badly, because most of the reason why you fight, because most of you have this blue problem, is that you think that anything that can be prevented should be prevented, nothing should ever go wrong. And I get that, because I would like to avoid anything going wrong too, to whatever degree, but we learn from when things go wrong. We grow when things go wrong. And so I'm saying, so even though it may not be fun to let things go wrong occasionally, you're still going to have a better, more enjoyable life than if you're constantly fighting with the authority. Because you're so afraid something's going to go wrong. Instead, now it's really gone bad. That's just a thought. I didn't say all the time, but I said you might find that more often than not, if you just let it go the other way, no matter what happened, it still would have been better than fighting it. That's just one thought for that, okay? Just to keep that in mind. You know, because I think we really are just so reluctant to do that. Now, the other part is, I don't know that we truly appreciate the level of sacrifice, which is what started off the chapter, that people make to do their roles. I don't think that most wives and husbands really appreciate what the other one does. The wives, I don't think, always appreciate the man going, now if you have a husband who's not doing this, then I get that problem. But if your husband's going out there to make it happen, to make the money, to work hard, to do 2 jobs, whatever he's doing, to come home to provide for you, I don't know if the wives appreciate that as much as they should. On the other side, the wife who's home and she's dealing with the kids and she's dealing with this and dealing with that, and maybe she's working too, whatever it is, I don't think the husbands are appreciating that either. Okay? I think we really have a hard time appreciating the level of sacrifice that each of us makes for the other one. Now, maybe it's not what you want. Well, I never said he had to do that for me, or I never said she had. But the thing is, he thinks it, or you think it, so you're doing it. You're sacrificing of yourself. And I know Billy has tried to make this point many times to you guys, that most of you, I'm hoping, understand the level of sacrifice that I make and my wife makes to serve. Because some of you get all hung up on this or that or some other thing, and it distracts you from the fact that we are available as much as we are, and the time that we spend and the hours that we spend putting together the programs and counseling and teachings and just the management of the properties and facilities so that we have a place to meet. And all of that entails, I don't know that most of us really appreciate that enough. And I don't mean like appreciate it, meaning that you have to come and tell me, but it's the way you'll act towards me that will express how much you appreciate it. Do you understand what I'm saying? The way you act towards your spouse will show how much you appreciate. Now with your spouses, you really should tell them. I don't need you to tell me. I need you to act like it, okay? I don't need the words, okay? What I need is to see it in the behavior that you appreciate. Treat the person in a manner so they know you appreciate them. Now, some people need the words. All right? Now, words of affirmation is really my second love language. But lucky for all of you, I only need it from one person. All right? I don't need it from the rest of you. I appreciate it when you give it to me, but I only need it from my wife. If I don't get it from her, it doesn't matter what the rest of you said. That's my love language. That's not, that's my default. But I appreciate when you say the words, but the problem is a lot of you say the words, but you're not doing the words. You're not literally showing the appreciation. And how you show appreciation? You volunteer when we ask for volunteers. That's an appreciation. You're available to do the things that need to be done. That's an appreciation. You try to make sure you're not a part of the problem, but you're part of the solution in the things that are going on. That's how you show appreciation. You don't get involved in all of the showing hurrah, that's appreciation. There's so many different ways you can do it, okay? Did that answer what you're saying? Okay. You can go ahead. Okay,
thank you. And as going along with what you just said, one of the things that I wanted to tell you actually is that I do, both of us, we appreciate what you sit with us, with me and my husband in counseling. Every month at least we come to see you, sometimes more often, and we not only get the guidance and the direction, but initially you really meet us with a lot of compassion and validation, and it really helps a lot, right? To be able to talk to you, because you're not just coming from, you're coming from Torah, and it can't go wrong. I mean, and when we do what you're telling us, it really goes well. So I just wanted to say that.
Well, I appreciate that. And look, yeah, you can clap for that. That's part of how you show. Look, I have a husband and a wife, and Janet and Olivier, that do come to me. Okay? And they come together, and they both listen. And it's not, but I don't want to disagree with you, Janet. Torah is a big part of it, but it's not my knowledge of Torah. It's the anointing for counseling in the context of Torah. Because there are a lot of people out there that know Torah that have no anointing for counseling, okay? But he gives me an insight when it comes to counseling, which is really funny because I never wanted to counsel. I hated it when I started it because I had to listen to a lot of whiny stuff I didn't want to hear, okay? Well, you laugh, but you can know my personality, all right? So now I find it a lot easier. I just cut right through it and interrupt them and say, okay, stop that. What's the real problem, whatever. And so I get through it in my own way. But he made me do it because he anointed me to do it, even though it was something I didn't want to see, I didn't want to do. Because a lot of people say, well, I'm a rabbi, but I never wanted this job. Well, yeah, I did want this job. This job I wanted. The counseling part I never wanted. The teaching, the motivating, the getting out here and impacting you, this I always wanted. I didn't know I was going to be a rabbi. I thought I'd be a motivational speaker or something, but I wanted this. I'm not going to be that guy who sit there saying, if you want the job, you're not qualified. No, you can want the job and be qualified. I didn't want this part of the job. Okay, I like it now. I love it now. I appreciate that it helps people, that he gives me the words to say. But let's understand that the person has to be anointed in the counseling, not just, learn it in the word. Because a lot of you have gone to some people, learned it in the word, and got some lousy counsel. And so there's two different anointings, okay? All right, go ahead.
Yeah, and you did say it better, because that's exactly what I meant. Thank you for
clarifying. And I get even more serious about it when I talk to someone whose profession is a counselor. Okay? I look at her like, am I doing this right? No.
No, you're doing great because, part of what I do too is marriage counseling. And of course, talking about hypocrisy, of course, I want to have a good marriage to be able to help other people. So definitely, I'm working on myself and my marriage too. But when you were saying that whenever we think highly of ourselves, we're usurping or we're taking on roles that are not ours, it made me thought of the word humility. And my question is, when we're focusing on our roles, right? In this case, I'm the wife, so I'm focusing on me and doing the best that I can in that role. As I do that, will that in return bring a change as well in the dynamic of the marriage and even in my husband? Will that bring about a cycle that will be, closer to the state where we want to be in shalom and joy and peace and all that? That's my question to you.
Okay. So, first of all, I just want to clarify something or correct something. The problem is not thinking highly. The problem is when we think more highly than we should. Okay, let me just first say that. Now, the second point that Janet brought up, there are many people out there that counsel, and there's a school of thought that if you just work on you, the marriage can get fixed just if one works. But you're gonna have to really work and really be patient and really be committed over a long time, okay? There are some books written by a particular rabbi out of the Breslov sort of thought process who basically says, if you just work on you, your marriage can get better and can get fixed no matter what the other person's doing, because of what you're doing will basically have an effect on them, okay? And so, but that takes a really high level of commitment just to work on you and have patience, because the other person might not even know you're doing this. The other person is not supposed to even read your book. Okay, if you're the wife, the husband's not supposed to read that book, so he has no idea what the book's telling you to do or not do. If you're the husband, she's not supposed to read your book. And I appreciate that, because that's so you can't use it as a weapon against them, saying, hey, you know, in chapter 4 it says this, how come you're not doing that? You know. So it certainly can work that way. I think most people, if you really work on your side, you will see some improvements, because you will get a cause and effect, like you changing will help the other person. Plus, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but you are partially to blame, which means that if you fix your part, that means there's less problem. Doesn't mean it fixes everything, but some of it is your fault. And if you can fix the part that's yours, at least from that alone, it will get somewhat better, because you're no longer adding to the problem. Okay? And if more of it's yours than the other person's, then your changing helps it even more. If less, then less. But just changing you will have an effect, absolutely. All right? Now, I think I covered that. Okay, live stream.
From Eva Yvonne, says, clarification, please. If one spouse comes to faith in Messiah, but the other spouse wants nothing to do with it and is antagonistic, does that mean divorce is imminent?
Nothing means anything is imminent, okay? If you are in an unequally yoked situation, it simply means you're going to be more challenged. If you cannot, well, let me stop. You know how when I told you over the years that tithing, for example, will expose if you have a finance problem or if you have a greed problem, that kind of thing, a selfish problem? Marriages expose other, well, I shouldn't say, coming into Torah observance exposes other things in your marriage. You may not have realized that you had such challenges in your marriage until all of a sudden you start trying to keep the Torah, and then it brings stuff into a bigger light that was already there that you had challenges with. The Torah observance is not the problem. It's a catalyst sometimes to bring out something that was under the surface, now it's brought up to the surface. So when people counsel me about their marriages, when they're unequally yoked, meaning one is covenanting and the other one is not. Sometimes the one who's not is antagonistic in this case. Sometimes they're reasonably polite about it and will allow you the space to not give you too much grief about it. And everything in between. You don't really find too many that are hugely supportive, even though they're not a part of it, but rarely can you find something like that. But when I counsel people, the problem isn't always, well, how do I handle this? The problem may be you have a marriage problem. The problem may be, not is, but may be that you have a marriage problem. And that this exposed that underlying thing that was somewhat under the surface, but always there. Does that make sense? Hopefully you follow that. So in other words, you can come to me and say, how do I handle this and this? And I can give you some ideas of things that could possibly work. And then you call me back and it didn't make it, because you may have a marriage problem. So divorce may be in your future because you now really have a marriage problem. And unless you can get the marriage problem fixed, the Torah observant problem is not really the problem. You can have a mixed marriage, belief-wise, that can work if you both wanted to. Now, if you both are not walking together in agreement, and by the way, that means you have to believe the same. You can have an agreement about how you deal with the fact that you don't believe the same. But you can come to an agreement. But if you're not walking in agreement, you have a marriage problem. Whatever it doesn't have to be a Torah observer. You can have two people in covenant, quote unquote, who have marriage problems because they don't have an agreement on how to walk. How the roles are, husband and wife, how to treat the children, how to treat finances, whatever. You may have a marriage problem. So hopefully that makes sense for you if you're listening, that if you are married to someone and they're antagonistic to this, that's not in itself a problem. If you can't come to an agreement of how to handle that disagreement, now you have a problem. If all you're going to get is antagonism, well, now you have a marriage problem. Because this doesn't have to have a response of antagonism. It could get a response of tolerance, patience. It could be you might get a response from the spouse that says, I don't care, do what you want. Okay? That happens, believe it or not. There are the ones who come into this, and the husband or the wife who's not in this, just like, I don't care. Just don't push it on me, you know? Here's the big problem, though, a lot of you have. You come into this and you start pushing it on them. And then you get the antagonism. So I would want to talk to this person in counsel and say, why are they antagonistic? Because it could be they just don't like what you're doing, or it could be that you're doing something to poke them about it. It could be either one, okay? I've seen angry, antagonistic, hostile spouses who the other spouse did nothing to provoke, except to start observing the commandments. Others where the spouse was constantly in the other one's face about this is wrong and that is wrong and this is this, and just really pushing their revelations on their spouse. And that will antagonize even the best of them, okay? So I don't know which is the case here, but realize there may or may not be a marriage problem, but just because you believe differently doesn't mean there has to be, okay? Hopefully that's clear. All right, Rob, another one, and then we'll get to Rocky.
From Philip Mason, Romans 12, verse 4, reminds me of when they were building the Mishkan in the desert. The verse is talking about those with wisdom, like in Shemot 36, 1 and 2. Is this a good connection?
I don't want to say no, but I think that it's taking it into the extreme, okay? What I mean by that is, you know, there are the extremes like Moshe, the one who was given the gifts and talents to make the tabernacle, and I forget all the guys' names, Batzalel and those kind of guys. You know, they were given these high levels of very specified anointings. So yes, that applies. But I think what we're talking about here are much more mundane, but still hugely valuable anointings, like the ability to serve or the ability to encourage, okay? They're not the larger-than-life skills of knowing how to do all the things related to building the tabernacle, a specialty in how to dye the cloths and make the cloths and do the weaving, or the smelting and doing the things with the gold and the silver and the metals. I mean, these are very specific anointings, okay? So I agree, yes, it connects in a certain way, but I don't want us to think that, remember, that's something that came from above for a very big purpose. All of you are still getting something from above, and you're born with it, and it has a purpose, but not quite the spectacular, impactful purpose that these few individuals had in Scripture. Okay? That doesn't mean yours is any less valuable, because yours may be tremendously impactful on very few people, and those few people were powerfully impacted, as opposed to these people who are impacting a much larger group. All right? My anointing affects a much larger group because I have a pulpit to speak to what I do is for a much bigger audience. And by the way, I didn't get to say this, but I wanted to say this during the announcement. We just crossed over 29,000 subscribers. And then the subscribe button went right on the screen. There you go. And I appreciate that because, again, it's not about look at how popular we are, because we're not. I can point to almost every other ministry that I'm aware of has many, many more subscribers than we do. Many, okay? 5 times as many, 150,000, 200, whatever it is. I'm just glad that we're being effective, Okay, the numbers keep going up, it means we're being effective, which means that it's just more likely that a teaching that I've done that the Father gave to me to share might show up on the sidebar and somebody might get a chance to see it. And it may make a difference in their life. So I just don't want to, when we get excited about these numbers, it's never about being popular. It's about the fact that we're reaching some people. Okay, so I just want to make sure. Okay, Rocky. Step into the light.
Thank you, Rabbi.
No, I'm kidding.
Stay in the camera. Okay.
There you go.
Couple things. I don't know if you guys are like me, but I'm not very smart. And it seems like you guys can relate to me, so maybe you can relate to this. I wanted to share something. I just realized that maybe they don't get this too. It took me a while to figure this out, that manual labor is not a Mexican drug lord. So, well, I don't think people got it. So,
Okay.
serve, help out here, please. And where I'm going with this is really what is my expectations as a member here at MTOI, whether local or on live stream. And then because, everything else in life, they give you a job description of everything you do. I mean, there is an expectation. And after Yahweh drugged me through here, I mean, I come kicking and shoving. I didn't really come here. I'm not here because all the wonderful, great things I did in my life. I'm here because I'm not very well-mannered or I like to use the word maladapted in the things that I do, or dysfunctional. Not everything, but many. So I believe there should be some expectations. I think they ought to be explained maybe to me, for what it's worth.
Okay. All right. So this goes back to why I want to put a little handout together, okay? Because the handout, I only mentioned half of it. The other half kind of addresses what Rocky just brought up, which is dealing with the fact that we're all stupid. No, okay, that's not what it was. Okay, the other half of the handout was to deal with the expectations, okay? You should expect certain things from your ministry. Okay, if you are a part of MTOI and part of Beth Shalom, you should expect a ministry person to be available in emergencies 24/7. That's a reasonable expectation. The ministry also should have expectations of you. And so we want to lay those things out. We expect respectful, polite interaction with each other and with the ministry, just to give you some ideas. Okay? You expect in urgent emergencies to receive benevolence. We expect, when it's not urgent emergencies, to receive tithes and offerings. You see, there's an expectation from each side. And I think that, like I teach the marriage counseling deal, one of the most important, it's the third step of the things I give people to do, is the expectations exercise. And almost everybody I've ever done with, they really appreciated how it helped them before they got married to understand what the other one was expecting of them. And so every relationship, including, like I say, with me and with my children, I have told them my expectations and my goals and my desires. I bared myself open before my son and told him, it is incredibly important that you and I have a good relationship no matter what. Somehow that has to work, because I didn't have that with my father. And it hurts me now, not that we're not, well, we're not close, but we're not fighting or anything, but my father who's having challenges, by the way, he's home and he seems to be doing pretty good. Yeah, thank you. But like when my son walks up to me, just because he happens to be walking across the room and he sees me and walks over and gives me a hug, I never would have done that with my father because I didn't have the feelings that go behind that. Okay? And I didn't want to continue that to the next generation because my father didn't get it from his father. That's what he's told me, okay? And I'm sure it's a generational thing. And so, but I set that expectation early on to say, look, we're going to fight, we're going to have struggles, we're not going to agree, but you need to know that somehow, some way, we need to work that all out because I need us to be the best buddies always. That role will change somewhat over time, but you and I need to be close. I have to figure out how to make that work. Now, not just because I impose it, but because together we're going to figure out how to make that work. How does that now, my daughter and I have a different relationship, same goal, but she's not him and he's not her, right? And so we have to adjust and figure out how do I have what I want in this one and how do I have what I want in this one. Well, the same thing when now you come into a congregation. How are you going to function if you don't know what I expect from you and what you expect from me? We have to and we have to agree about that so we're clear. People leave here a lot because their expectations weren't met and there were expectations we never agreed to. I'm serious. That has happened over and over and over again. Because I'll hear, well, blah, 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 blah. This person left because, blah. And I'm like, we never told them we would do that. We never offered that. We never promised that. And they're all mad because they didn't get it. I had a person come here, literally was angry because he thought he was going to move here. He's a little bit older than me, and we were going to be best friends and go out and have lunch all the time, and it didn't happen the first 2 months he was here. And I said, I never said I'd do that with you. I don't do that with anybody. There's nothing personal. I just don't have the time to do all of that. Now, if you're here and I'm hungry, I will ask you to come with me because I like to have socializing while I'm eating. But you have to actually be here at that moment. Do you understand what I'm saying? I don't generally like to make those kind of plans because they're never going to happen on time anyway. Even if you're here, I might say it and then it still won't happen for 2 hours because something will come up. Okay? But it's an expectations thing. And this person left because that expectation didn't get met. So Rocky, I love what you said, and I'm going to, and Billy and I and the staff are putting together a handout so that we can tell you, this is what you can expect from us, and this is what we expect from you. And we'll have a different expectation of a guest, okay? A person who's new and trying to figure us out, and a quote-unquote member, someone who is committed to being a part of this. And you can expect different things as a member than a guest might expect. Okay, somebody I don't know and has only been here once, etc., I may not be just jumping out of bed at 2 in the morning to answer the call, whatever's going on. Those who come on a regular basis, who have committed to be a part of this and are part of that family, there's nothing I wouldn't do. You see that? You understand that? Now, the person who's a guest can still work their way into that other place, but I don't know if they're just passing through, if they're just putting their big toe in, if they're, I have no idea what they're doing. And I can't give them, what if you needed it and you're actually part of the family? You see what I'm saying? I have to save that level, okay? Now, there's a certain level for the new person. I want to be available to answer questions, to give you counsel, to get your information that you need to make a decision to become part of the family, so to speak, okay? But we're not just going to offer benevolence necessarily to someone who we just met 5 minutes ago. I hope you understand that that makes sense. But if you're part of the family, of course, if you actually need it, of course, if you need it, you're also going to be expected to figure out how to fix the problem at some point. Which means you're going to get sent to Billy, who's trained in finance and has a certification that we sent him to go get to do those things. All right? And so that's a really good question, Rocky. Hopefully that starts to answer the question, okay? There are our expectations. We expect that if you're a part of the family, if you're part of the membership, like you're here, and we don't have a formal membership or anything, but you show up every week, you're part of the group. Well, then we expect you to see something like a piece of garbage on the floor, and you pick it up and you throw it out. We expect that if you have children, you're aware of them, that you're not letting them just run around and do whatever and hurt themselves or break something, whatever it is. We have an expectation that you volunteer. And I don't want people telling me whatever their disability is. I've got everything with people with disabilities still volunteering to do stuff. You can figure out a way to do something, okay? And if you can't, ask us and we'll find something you can do. It's the heart to want to do something. Okay, if Rabbi Tom can do all the things he does, all of you can do something, okay? And he's much healthier now than he was and he still was doing. Because when I met him, he could hardly do anything. He was really in terrible shape. And still he would do. And help you if you got in his way when he told him he couldn't do. Because he wanted to be a blessing. He wanted to help. I think his wife had to chain him down not to be here today. Okay? Why can't you have that same attitude? I don't understand sometimes, okay? Because a lot of you are totally healthy and able-bodied and do nothing. That's part of the expectations, Rocky, okay? It's funny because you guys expect me to jump and go through the hoops and be available, and then I look around and where are you? When we need you. Nowhere to be found, all right? And I'm thinking we may need to keep track of that a little more, and then when you call us and say, I think it's interesting that you're calling us, considering I haven't seen you do anything in 6 months. You know, or ever. You know, here's the surprising thing. There are people that have been following and here and attending for years who I've never seen do anything. And there's nothing wrong with them. Well, not physically. Oh, you laugh. I'm telling you. Billy's only been here, how many months now? Almost a year. And Billy, are there people you've never seen do anything? Yes, in a year. And they're healthy, right? They're physically capable. And never do anything. It's mind-boggling to me. Then I got Rocky, okay, who when he shows up, he gets here first thing in the morning and says, I'm here. And we give him something to do. And if there's nothing, he'll sit around until there's something to do. But he wants to do something. And he doesn't even live here yet. And there's others of you that live here, have been here your whole lives, or been here long enough, and do nothing. Oh, but you want from us, you'll call us when you want something. You do nothing. And I'm not angry. So, why was Rabbi so angry about it? I don't get it. I don't get it. Although I look at Billy like, really? They want our help now and they do nothing. And we give them the help anyway, just so you know. Some of you think I might be such a tough guy. Billy will tell you I'm much too much of a softie, actually. And I'm very generous, and I almost always give everything to everybody that they need. Even if they shouldn't get it, a lot of the time. All right? Now, I'll get gruff in your face and still give it to you anyway. But Billy's trying to get me to stop, so if I stop doing it, it's his fault. All right, Gary.
Shalom, Rabbi.
Shalom.
So you very much touched on everything that I was going to say and some of the things that Rocky said, but I know the other day I was going through...
Wait, let me ask you a question. So for how long were you leading Urbana?
Total time up there is basically 5 years.
Okay, so 5 years. Were there any people up there that never did anything?
All the time.
It's not just, it's a problem in the body. And every place you go, it's like the 80, 20, 90, 10 rule. It's the same 10% or 20% do everything. I mean, they will volunteer on top of their volunteering. And almost always when we're short a few spots, the same 5 people that have already been doing everything raise their hand to do more. Okay, go ahead.
So it's funny because the people who didn't do anything when I was there, when I wasn't there, did all kinds of stuff they shouldn't have done. And so, it's kind of ironic, but, and they couldn't just simply do what was asked or I really get the frustration that Rabbi deals with, and I see it and I hear it coming out in his voice, because I don't get people complaining, I'll say, about how things are done or what decisions are made or whatever. And yet it has produced everything that you interact with, everything that you're experiencing, everything that's here. The teachings that he puts out, the facilities that we get to enjoy, all the things that you benefit from. And I don't understand it. And in Urbana or in Ohio, Abed moved upon me to do something. And what has been produced was the things that he inspired me to do with Rabbi and his counseling, his leadership, submitted to him, committed to the vision, which is a thing that I don't think a lot of people understand. There has to come a point that you commit to the vision that he has, that Abba has given him. And I was very fortunate in a sense that there were some problems here and there. Most of the people that I closely interacted with in the groups were very good. We had some problems. Abba saw fit and was merciful and took them out in other directions, and that's fine. They have their walk, and that's more than fine. And in fact, whenever that happens, the old addition by subtraction, right? And the level of growth and the intimacy that the group grew by was just, it was amazing to watch. And as I left the group to come down here, I'm very blessed to know that there was men who were stepping up and that I could trust to do something, to step up and take the roles appropriately, just standing there waiting. I would give them things and they would take it and they would do it. And to watch those men grow, and I know they're watching, the group is watching, and I miss you guys, but I'm very happy to see the things going on Telegram, and I see where you guys are taking that vision and going forward because they are submitted and committed to the leadership that was there, that has been there under Rabbi. And it's very humbling to know that Abba used me in such a way. But to come here, I mean, I could come in here and act, well, I've led something for 5 years. Well, that was there. That's not here.
Right.
And I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to do whatever it is that they have to do. I don't care if it comes from Kurt, a Rabbi, Billy, it doesn't matter. I'm here to serve. I just don't get, and like Rabbi talked about picking up things, or even when we're at a place like we were at Benton Falls or at Hickson Park, whatever, and if there's trash, we're occupying that space. It doesn't matter whether we put it there or not.
Right.
Rabbi's always talked about leaving it better in place, in better condition than we found it, because we represent an organization that represents him. And let's
Amen.
leave it better.
Amen.
I just have heard and seen a lot, and I like to sit back and observe, and I just don't get the things that I see, the things I hear. And my question is, like, if it's that bad, why are you here? Oh, because you really, some level, you enjoy what it is that is here. You want to benefit from it, but you don't want to do. I mean, clean up the cigarette butt or whatever it's a park or a piece of trash out here, because this is all part of what Abba has blessed us in this organization. I don't get it. I mean, it's I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it might tick some people off, but I don't really care. I made a choice in 2015 to leave an organization, and it wasn't an organization, a group that actually had the building that Rabbi and MTOI now owns, that is MTOI Urbana, to be a part of what I saw Abba doing through Rabbi. And I'm not here to be popular necessarily. I just don't get the things that I've seen. And I want to be here to support this because I know Abba has greater things to do. There's so much work to do. But I know I have a lot of stuff I have to work on. And that's what I'm here to do, is work on myself, because there's some things I can do from a distance. It's a little bit harder, other things at a distance. So I'm here to work on myself and to continue supporting the vision that he has.
Amen. All right, so, and I appreciate, Gary's comments. Look, I talked about at the very beginning of this week about being in a good ground to receive. So you should have been coming here ready to receive, but not coming here to receive. If you understand what I'm saying? A lot of people come here because they want to receive. And they're thinking about giving or serving, but I'm only thinking about receiving. I want you to be ready to receive because you're going to receive. But you should be coming here for the full spectrum, which is receiving and serving, that flow through, okay? Giving and receiving. And it's funny because every feast we go through this, every time I go to embarrass everybody the best I can without literally shaming them by calling them out by name, almost always looking them in the eye if I can, just to kind of get the point across, and they still will do nothing the rest of the feast. This happened during unleavened bread. It was shocking. I went up to somebody and said, did so-and-so volunteer after all that? No. And I went up to that person, one of the two or the three people, I said, you gonna do anything this week? I don't understand. Why are you here then? That's what Gary was going to say. I personally don't understand. And as far as frustration, look, I'm frustrated for you, not so much with you. People are going to step up and do it. As Billy will tell you, he gets frustrated with people because he'll look him in the eye and says, and if you don't, then I'm going to do it anyway. And so I need to get some of you else to do it so I don't have to always end up doing everything. And if he doesn't do it, I'll do it. Look, I am always in the restroom when I'm there, noticing the little piece of the paper towel that people tear with their wet hands that ends up on the floor, and I pick it up and throw it out. Every week I will do that. And don't understand why the person who did it or the 50 people that came in afterwards didn't pick it up. Okay? But I won't be that person. I will pick it up. Even if it's not mine, I will pick up what's on the floor. I'm not all highfalutin with myself because I'm the rabbi. I can't pick up what's on the floor. Pick it up. You see something, handle it. If it's above you, then find a person who can handle it. Maybe it's a bigger spill or a bigger broken thing, a bigger problem. But don't just leave it for somebody else. I don't get it. And it's sad, and it's what it is. Look, Gary did say something. I appreciate that he said it. Look, we have, and you can think of this as me, or you can think of it as him. I think it's an easy choice. We have congregations all over the world. We have 2 properties here plus the property in Ohio. Most Messianic groups don't have any properties. Okay? We own this tent that you're sitting in. It's a giant tent, okay? It's because of what Abba's doing here and what he's inspired other people to do, to provide the talent for the praise and worship, to provide the staff to do the things that they do. All of this is for you. None of it's for me. None of it's for Billy. None of it's for my wife. It's for you, okay? I get paid a salary, so that part, I guess, is for me. But this tent doesn't do me any good. It's for you. This property, the new property over at the farm property, these things are for you guys. They don't benefit me. And so all of this, you have to then think, do I appreciate that Abba has chosen me and this ministry to do this thing? And then if that's true, what role do you play in that? Well, I play the role of the 2 of the people who put you the thumbs down at the beginning of your thing. Okay, that's your role. I play the role of sitting socially and enjoying myself when I see fit to even show up. Because some of you just show up whenever you feel like it. All right? Rabbi Tom, I'll use him as an example. If he can't be here, he comes to me, apologizes in advance because his health or whatever it is will prevent him from being here. Because he feels badly that he's not here. Whether it's on a Tuesday night where he may just not be feeling up to it or Saturday. The rest of you don't do that. The rest of you say, I don't feel it. I'll just sleep in and I'll just watch the live stream. I'll Shabbat at home. I didn't know Shabbating at home was an option for people that live near the congregation. I wouldn't think it would be. But this is the thing I don't get. So again, it comes back down to forget about me, what do you see him doing? Do you see anything? Do you see anything different or unique happening here that maybe other places aren't happening? Do you see the pillar of fire and the pillar of cloud, so to speak? Do you see that over? I don't know what you're seeing. Some of you I know, because I see the way you act and the way you behave. There's the only way you, like Rocky says, I don't know why I'm here to follow and get to know this man, but I'm here because he sees something and he's trying to get that understanding. But I don't know what the rest of you guys are seeing. The minority is what I'm talking about. Most of you are here for the right reasons. And some of you get mad when you hear, you mean people aren't all tithing? No, they're not. They're not all putting offerings in. The amount of money that's in that box every week does not look anything like the number of people that come. I don't care. He gives us what we need. He's just not giving it to us from you. So you're the one that's paying the price, not me. I don't know how else to say that. If we need X number of dollars to do something, he sends it. And if it doesn't come from you, you're the only one hurting you. I mean, you're the one that's getting hurt by this whole deal, not me. Okay? If you never put a penny in the box, you'll never hurt what we're doing here. You'll be hurting yourself. But you do it. If you never serve, you're not hurting me. You're hurting yourself. All these things you do only hurt you. I don't know how else to get that through to you, but you're only hurting yourself. Okay? All right? Some of you think, oh, but we see this blessing and that blessing someone gets. Well, maybe we're doing more than you do. People have seen, I have a fairly large house. Well, I work real hard to get that really large house. And it's not like a ministry, whatever mansion, but I have a big family, and I, over all my years of working and living in apartments and moving back into my parents' house and being broke and everything else, I finally got to a place where I can get a decent-sized house. But I earned it. I worked, okay? And I don't know why, because there are people that they'll find these things out and they'll be all like, oh. If you don't have what I have, it's because you do not work like I work. Okay? And that's not just me talking. Every successful person will tell you, if you would be willing to do what they do, you'd have what they have. But you're not willing. The price, I've paid an incredible price, career-wise, financially, and everything else over the 35, 40 years of working, whatever it's been. I guess since I was a young teenager, so over 40 years of working. It wasn't always, Listen, when you're broke enough to have to move back with children and a wife into your parents' house, you're broke. Okay? Being in your 40s and this is what you have to do. That's broke. That's humbling. That's bottom. But then I worked. I learned to work smart, and I worked hard, and I worked a lot. And there are those who want to stick around and follow me around and learn and follow. I said, you better have some stamina. Because until he stops me, there's no stopping. Okay? Now, I've learned to find a little bit more balance because I wore myself out and got pneumonia. But I still work. Okay? And you got to understand that. I hope you understand. And the reason I have all that I have, and I mean the ministry and everything else, is because I do what I do for him, fully sacrificing myself, and that way I have no fear that whatever you put in that box is going to have any effect on anything, or whether you serve is going to have any effect on anything, or whether you show up here is going to, it's not. Because he's got a work that he's doing. I'm just a vessel, and the people that want it and are open to it, have the fertile ground for it, they're going to get it. And you're going to miss that train and miss that boat or whatever metaphor you want and end up with whatever, nothing, okay? And that gets me, I get frustrated because it makes me want to cry, if you understand what I'm saying. I'm not really a cry, but you understand, it makes me very sad. It makes me very sad. Because it's like having the world at your feet, but you tripped. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's all laid out for you. Just put in some effort. Get out of the me, just a little bit, and you could really start getting something. That's all on you. You got to be willing to do it. I just sit up here and scream at you is all I could do. All right? All right, live stream.
Okay. He was just saying that Rabbi Tom is out here in the parking lot watching live stream.
You see? There is no keeping a committed person down, okay? I'm not just gonna say no keeping Rabbi Tom down. There's a lot of Rabbi Toms in this room too that if you were him, you'd still be finding some way to do it. But some of you, there's too much quit in you. Look, I don't want to say this in a way, like yes I do. You're weak. And you need to stop being weak. And don't be offended when I called you weak. You can choose to be strong. That man is strong, okay? Only a few days ago, they cracked open his chest. And he's here. There's a bunch of you watching right now could have been here and wasn't here. Didn't have half of what he just went through, and he's still here. And he shouldn't be here. He should be home. But I'll go out and see him. Now that you all heard he's here, though, leave him alone. He does not want people approaching him. Okay? He wants to minimize the amount of people that he interacts with. But he's here because he wants to know that he showed up at Shavuot. I know that's what, he didn't tell me that, but I know him. Okay? And did he make sure to put it in the box? What was that? Oh yeah, no. I think he gave that to me before he went, just in case he wasn't going to be back. But he also is one of those people that wants to make sure that absolutely things go in the box. And usually he gives it to me first, so he knows. So I know he's doing it. I mean, he doesn't have to do that. I know who he is. I know his character. But he gives it to me so that he wants me to know I'm doing this. Okay? I appreciate that. And then I go and put it in the box. Okay? Because learn from that example. Be inspired by that example. All right? Amen? Amen. All right, Chris.
I had a couple thoughts about serving. Am I in the light?
Yep.
Okay. Yes, I'm in the light. Okay. One is what Gary was talking about, how you represent yourself and serving, let's say, at Benton Falls or wherever. So if I'm at work and not on shift and there's like a piece of trash or anywhere in my life and I'm representing, him, I know sometimes I think, oh, well, okay, I'm a janitor and I like it. Like, I put everything on the floor first, and then it's more efficient if it's already on the floor. So there's certain things about cleaning. And sometimes I apply that maybe when I shouldn't, because I should just pick it up and not think, oh, it's more efficient if I leave it and then it can all be picked up all at the same time, or something like that. But I guess I wonder if I should be more aware of how I keep other places clean or other things I do in other places as well as Beth Shalom.
All right, so two things. One is I appreciate very much that you understand that no matter what you're doing it in a way that represents the Father who's called you, okay? That you are not ever losing contact with the idea that janitorial, teaching, doctor, lawyer, doesn't matter, housewife, carpenter, plumber, whatever you do when you're doing it and you're representing him. So I appreciate that. Secondly, if you only do what's expected of you, you're a useless servant, is what it says in Scripture. Not that you're useless, but he's saying, look, don't just think that you're so wonderful just because you do what's expected of you. So going above and beyond, which is something you mentioned that you do, that's good too. Now, as far as, leaving something or doing it later, look, if I am doing the janitorial and I'm doing it right now and there's really nobody else around and it's not going to be something that's going to cause anybody a problem and I found that it'll be more efficient for me to pick it up in a minute when I do it a different way, there's nothing wrong with that. But the problem is when you walk away from something and other people now are going to see it, other people, it's got to be in their experience that you could have taken it out of so they didn't have to. That's what I'm talking about, okay? So there may be times where it's better to just pick it up. Other times it may be better to just leave it because you're going to pick up everything in a few seconds. So it really is context, okay? The context of the circumstance, all right?
Okay. And I also thought about in Psalm 119 when it says, this is my portion. And thinking about owning, I wonder if it's kind of like a stock, where I don't know anything about stocks, but every person has a share in a company or something like that, and you. But at the same time, I want to make sure I'm not thinking, oh, well, I have this part of, Beth Shalom, and because sometimes there's things. Billy was just talking to me about how actually people don't know how to clean a toilet. There's actually more to it than you might think, and there should be videos about how to do very basic things, or maybe people think are basic things. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is I want to have the heart to say, okay, this is my place. This is where I belong. I want to volunteer and do these things, but at the same time I want to also be aware that there's a vertical authority, and I should make sure what I'm doing is, or ask if it may or may not be appropriate for me to do at that time.
Okay. All right. We will give you a lesson on understanding stock and other investments. Look, this is not like that, because the stock ownership is one of two things. One is either you're a part owner and you understand that you actually have a role in decision making. The other is just you're an investor. Okay? It depends on really how much you have. We want to be careful that you don't. This is a warning. Warning, warning, Will Robinson, right? Danger. Be careful that you don't become, as a part of the group, that you don't take ownership. Because once you do, you're going to think you should have a voice and a say in how things are done. And I've taught this in other teachings, that a lot of times that critical moment is when congregations have real big problems, is the moment when people have been there more than 6 or 8 months to a year, and they've said, you know what? This is my congregation now. I'm not going anywhere else. I've chosen to be here. But at that moment, they now have changed the switch in their head, where now they're thinking they should have a say. This happens in marriages too. You're dating. Now you said I do. All of a sudden now you think you have ownership and you need to change your spouse. Because now you have ownership. Each one of you thinks you own the other one. And you do to a certain degree. But you understand what I'm saying? So be careful that when you become a part of the congregation, you understand that you're a part of a body. The body does have those functions and roles of each person in the body, and there is a structure to the body, right? The body doesn't just flop around parts all over the place. It's structured together. There's a head, there are arms, legs, there's a body. And the hands that I'm waving around right now don't just wave around unless the brain and the thoughts, the mind, tell it to, okay? And so there is authority, there's a structure there. So be careful. The hands, if they all of a sudden think they're owners and want to have a say in everything, then we can really have a problem. Or if the legs or the arm, well, you have a different part of your body, wants to have a say, now we have a problem. Because then we have a usurping of authority, et cetera, okay? Think about when you lose control of an organ or a body part, all right? That's not good. That's hard to function. When things are moving around or not moving and they're not listening when the brain wants it to do what it needs to do, and you've lost that control, and that, maybe you're having spasms of some way, or you're having some sort of a fit of it, and then it's hard to function like that because things are doing things on their own and you don't consciously have any control over them. And so that's what the body can start to look like when people start taking ownership and doing what they want or thinking they should have a say in things. Okay? I had a lady that had a meltdown. I think I told you the story about how she was kind of attacking me, and my wife had said, if my husband's anointed, you better consider not doing that because you can get yourself in trouble. Well, the rest of that story was, it was a gym we were renting. We only had permission to do a service. Her children were throwing around a ball. The ball almost broke a $1,000 guitar, and another time it hit one of the little babies. And that's when I walked in and said, we're not doing that anymore. And the lady said, well, I think everybody here would like to, and blah, blah. I said, listen, it doesn't matter what they want, okay? I have the responsibility here. I'm the one who contracts the building, and I'm telling you we can't do it. Well, I think we should vote on it. I said, you know me 20 years. We don't vote, okay? See, but she took ownership, okay? And she's screaming at me. Now, I know her a long time, so I'm laughing. And I'm like, you should know better. I made my choice. I'm not changing my mind. This is my job to do. You don't have to like it, and I'm sorry you don't, but this is it. And she was just flailing around like the spasming in the body I was talking about, okay? And just pitching a fit like a child would. But the point being, though, she thought she should have a say and that others should have a say, and we should take a vote. There's no voting in the body. Do you understand that? We will never vote on any decision. Now, I can take an opinion poll about would somebody rather we do this on this weekend or that weekend, or I may take an opinion poll because it may not be something that needs that kind of decision, and if the majority would rather do something one way or the other and I don't really care about it and I don't think it's important, then I may take a little poll and say, we'll go with the majority, whichever way that goes. But we don't vote on things. I have a responsibility to make those decisions. Okay? And that's what I say when we're in the leadership meetings. We got 40 plus guys going to be in that meeting on Sunday. And the burden of responsibility will be mine, we don't vote, to make any decision it has to make. Now, bear in mind, it's not bossy, control, dictator. It's the burden of responsibility is mine. Hopefully that makes sense. But when we take ownership, we think that we should have a say. That's the danger place, okay? That's the danger place. All right, go ahead, Chris.
I have one last thought. When you were talking about spasming, or I was thinking I know a little bit about the biology. Like they have vertebrates and invertebrates, and so the invertebrates they flop around. The starfish or whatever kinds of animals like that. But humans. And like the body that we were just talking about, there's a vertebrae, there's a spine, and it has all the nerves.
There are bones that give structure.
The bones across the whole body goes all the way down. So that's kind of like a difference, and we don't have, and maybe MTOI is kind of like a spine, perhaps if Yeshua is the head.
Could be. Look, I don't want to claim that we're this or that as part of the body. We represent some small segment of it or whatever we represent. We just do the best we can with what we do here, and we're hoping we're doing it in a way that's pleasing to the Father and the Son, and it meets and matches their desire, okay? That's all we're trying to do. And we're doing it the best we can, and hopefully the way we do it, the structured way we do it, and the approach that we have and everything else is pleasing to them. And that's all we're hoping to do. In Numbers, chapter 6, Yahweh said, this is for Aaron. Of course, I'm not Aaronic. I'm not part of the Aaronic priesthood, but I think it's a blessing that we should all appreciate as how to bless Israel. So being of the Melchizedekian priesthood, I think it still would be appropriate. Yivarecha Yahweh v'yishmerecha, Ya'er Yahweh panav elecha v'yuchonecha, Yisai Yahweh panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Yahweh bless you and keep you. Yahweh make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. Yahweh lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. In the name of Yeshua, our Messiah, who alone is our Prince of Peace, we pray. Amen. Amen. Father, we come before you at the end of this event, and we just want to praise you and glorify your name and appreciate all that you're doing in our lives, in this congregation, in the body, in the world, your plan, and for allowing us to understand what little we understand and to participate in any way we can. Father, we have been blessed and we have received. We'd ask now that you would dismiss us and keep us safe on our travels back to our homes, and that you would bless us with an opportunity to return to the next feast, to be together and to be with you again. So Father, we want to thank you now, placing ourselves fully in your authority and in your hands. In the name above all names, Yeshua our Messiah. Amen. 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 Blessings to all of you.